All right, so we're continuing your notes from last class. And if you look at the top, this is 4.1, 4.2 still. So we are still working on this one. We just didn't finish everything. So we are still working on 4.1 and 4.2. Okay. Now on the back side of your notes, it looks something like this. We already did distributive property. We've already done distributing out. Okay. And when we distribute out, we end up making numbers into an addition problem, like 6a plus 42, or we get 14 plus 35. Okay, now we're actually going to do the reverse. We're going to undo that same problem, that answer, and we're going to go backwards. Okay, so here on example B, it says using distributive property to factor. So I'm right here. It says using the distributive property to factor. Okay. Now the word factor here is representative of finding the greatest common factor. So we're gonna find GCF. Okay. That's what we're doing. We're finding the GCF of this group of these two numbers. Okay, we're going to find the GCF of those two numbers. Okay, so I picked an example. Instead of using the one that's over here, I picked an example from your homework assignment. So this is from your homework assignment. We got the question 5 and then 5x plus 20. Now, if you don't remember, this number here is this number 5 here is represented by this length from here to here. That again is talking about the height of this rectangle. Now the numbers inside are products of two numbers. This I get from multiplying the number on the outside times the number on top. Okay, so if I have my two numbers in here, this is 5 times something, 5 times the number on top to make 5x. And this other number is the same thing, 5 times the number on top something makes 20. Now, what two numbers can I make multiply together that make 5x? Well, that's multiplied 5 times, and the only number that fits is going to be x. This needs to be an x. This is x. 5 times x equals 5x. This one is 5 times whatever number's on top makes 20. Well, I know 5 times 4 is 20. So that means the 4 goes on top. All right. Now I have all the answers I need. I just need to write them in the correct order to make a correct statement. So I'm going to start off with the numbers on the outside. So this number on the outside is 5. I did that in red. So that number is going to go on the outside. So if that number on the outside is 5, it goes there. And I'm multiplying it by the two numbers inside, x and 4. In this case, that's a positive 4. That's how I get positive 20. So when I write my equation, that's 5, and I'm multiplying, here's my parentheses, times x plus 4. X and then positive 4. X plus 4. That's these two numbers, this one and this one. Okay. That all equals, let me scoot these over so I can fit them all in there. Squeeze them in a little bit. There you go. What does that equal? When I multiply those two together, I get whatever's on the inside. On the inside, I have this 5x plus 20. So this part is my answer. This is my expanded form. That goes here. Okay. So if my expanded form is there, my answer should be 5x plus 20. 5x plus 20. This number on the outside represents my greatest common factor. That's this number right here. Okay, remember we were talking about finding the GCF? So this is my GCF of the two numbers on the inside. Okay. The numbers on top, these two numbers here, okay, these are my leftover factors. Once I take my GCF out, 5, the leftovers go up top. So left over factors. Okay, those are my leftover factors up top. Okay. Go ahead and write that down. Pause it if you need to. And then we're going to move on. All right. Now, I'm going to do a couple more examples that I'm going to choose from down here. Okay. We're going to do, let's see. Let's do example D looks good. And we'll do C. Why not? We'll do those two, C and D. Okay. So here's question C, 6x plus 3y. I'll do it over here. I have enough space. So my question says 6x plus 3y. Now, again, I like writing and using the area model. It's very helpful for me to organize my thoughts and put them in the right place. So if it's going to be representative of two numbers being added together, that means I need to factor it out. So I'm going to put this inside my rectangle. Okay, that's inside my rectangle. Whoa, that's not very pretty. Okay, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so I have some space to write above it. Okay, and I'm going to separate these two numbers. I know 6 looks like the bigger number, but again, I don't know what the values of x and y are. I don't really know. Okay, now I need to find the common factor between 6 and 3. You're going to think, what two numbers can I multiply that both make a 6 and a 3? The greatest common factor that they have in common, 2 doesn't work because I can't get 2 times anything to get 3, but I can get 3 times something. 3 times something will give me 6x, and 3 times something will get me 3y. Now that common number there, that common idea, whatever they have in common, my greatest common factor is going to go outside. Okay, so that go outside. Now 3 times something will give me 6x. 3 times something will give me 6x. That something that I'm looking for is going to be 2, because 3 times 2 gives me 6, and I need an x to make it a 6x. This number here, that extra number, that leftover factor, goes on top, 2x. Okay. And though y here, 3 times something gives me 3y. 3 times, again, that mystery factor is y. Okay, now it's a positive y, so I can get a positive 3y there, so I'm going to leave it as positive 3y. Okay, now, again, those numbers here are leftover factors. Okay, this one goes there, and this y goes up top. Again, it's a positive y. Now I'm going to put my parts all together. Again, just like I did before, my factor on the outside, and then I'm going to have a parentheses. Oops, I need a pen. Let's do this. Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, and then my parentheses. Okay, so and then the blue number goes in here. Okay, that should be a highlighter. The blue number goes there, and the green number goes there. All right, so I'll put my numbers in. Again, my greatest common factor, my number of groups on the outside. My leftover factors, 2x, and then positive 3y on the inside. Okay, and if I put these together, if I multiply them out, if I use my distributive property, if I multiply and then multiply, what do I get? Okay, what do I get? I get this part here in the middle. This is my answer again. Okay, that's my answer. And that's what this equals. That equals 6x plus 3y. 6x plus 3y. Okay. Again, pause if you need to. Okay. Pause if you need to. And copy this down. Okay. You should be able to put things together. That's what we did earlier, and then take things apart. This is taking things apart and putting them back into multiples. Okay. Here we have addends. We're adding two numbers. Here we have factors or multiples. We're multiplying two numbers together. Okay. So we have addends and we have factors. Okay. This is going to represent expanded form. Expanded form. And this represents factored form. Factored form. Okay, you should know the difference between the two. Again, this becomes really important in 9th grade and 10th grade, etc. This skill with the boxes will be really helpful. Okay, I'm gonna do one more example with you guys. I'll do example D. Here's example D. Okay, I have 2a minus 10. And again, the box I find really useful, so I'm going to use my boxes. Okay, and I'm going to separate this. That one gets to keep its sign. Okay, so that that negative 10 gets to keep its sign because it's a negative. It doesn't. That negative does not have to deal with this number. It deals with the number it's in front of. Okay. Now I'm going to think of a number that 10 and 2 can both be divided by. What common factor does 2 and 10 have in common? They can both be divided by 2. Now because those numbers are the same, my greatest common factor goes here. Okay, so my greatest common factor to the outside, that's a 2. And whatever I need to multiply to get that 2a, 2 times something will give me 2a. That something is going to be an a. That's just up there. And whatever I need to get negative 10, well, I know 2 times 5 gives me a 10. But because I need it to be a negative 10, this needs to be a negative 5. Now, because that's a negative 5, I'm going to have a minus 5 across the top. Okay. Again, these should match. Okay. This number and this number should match along with my factor here and my factor up here. Okay. Now, when I rewrite it, I need to have my number on the outside, 2, my common factor, times my 2 parts in the middle, which are going to be a, and then minus 5. Minus 5. And all of that equals whatever's inside the middle. Okay, the middle here, that's the answer here, which is the original question that goes here. Okay, and we end up with 2a minus 10. Okay, so you have these for your notes. You should have those 2 examples in your notes. Okay, so again, take your time, whatever you need to get all your notes correctly done here. Make sure it looks just like it is up here. Pause the video if you need to. The trickiest thing about this section is actually making sure that your notes, your signs are correct. So make sure you watch out for the signs. Make sure your signs are done correctly when you're factoring it out. Make sure your positive negatives match. Okay. Now, when you on the way in, you should have picked up one of these half sheets of paper as well. Okay. These are the items that I'm checking on your test day. So I check your homework regularly. They should be all on the online by now. Okay. If not, they'll be on there soon along with your quiz. I just finished grading them yesterday. So these are the items that you should have ready for me to check during your test. During your test, you'll have your notes from 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, your foldable, and 4.1, 4.2. I'll grade those. This is not due until next class. Not due until next class. So make sure that you have these 4 items ready. A lot of you guys are turning in things late. Okay, it's only 4 because I've already checked the other items. Okay. Now, we have a game scheduled. So we're gonna play a Kahoot game if we have time. But you can use the rest of this class period to work on your study guide. And your study guide should look something, sorry, you don't have to pay attention to this. Your study guide looks something like this. This is your study guide. Oh, wrong one. This one. This is your study guide. Okay. Now's a good time to work with the group and get through as many of these questions as you can. Okay. So your study guide will be very closely designed to your test. Your test will look almost the same. The only thing that changes are the numbers. Okay, the only thing that changes are the numbers. Okay, so just to clarify, so we are all on the same page here. Next class, these are the items that are due. So items due next class. Study guide. Okay, and you're just gonna complete to your best ability. Complete to the best of your ability. We will have time. We will have about 15 minutes to review. Okay, before your test. You have homework number 8. Homework number 8, which is distributive property. Distributive property and order of operations. Order of operations. Okay, that's the one that you went home with last night, and you should work on that now. If you weren't sure what it looks like, it looks like this. So this is the distributive property homework along with this one. So these are your two. This is the distributive property and order of operations, these two. Okay, you worked on this last class. You worked on this right side on the right. On the left, you work on the left side yesterday. Today we did an example. I did example number 2 in your notes, and during your individual work time, you should have time to work on the right side of this as well. Okay, on the right side over here. All right, let's see. So you have homework number 8, distributive property, and you have your notes from Accentuate the Negative Investigations 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 4.1 to 4.2, and your foldable. Okay, those are your notes due next class. This is 1. 4 notes that are due next class. That's 1. This is 2. This is 3. And this is the foldable that you used before your quiz. That's 4 items. Okay, so as mentioned before, once you're done with taking your notes, you should work on your quizzes game. I posted a quizzes game in the Google Classroom. It should have posted early this morning. So please take turns using the Chromebooks. There should be 4 for every one of the big tables. And there should be 2 on the small table, table 1 by the door. You guys won't be able to see each other's scores. So I have to, I'll identify the best score and give you guys a prize on Monday when you guys take your test. Today you're gonna work on your study guide. So if you're working on your study guide and someone else is playing the quizzes game, wait till they're finished and then you could trade. But you can work on your study guide. Your study guide again is very closely designed to your test. You can finish homework number 8, which is the distributive property and order of operations. Okay, so on the back of the order of operations sheet, again, for just a reminder, it looks like this. You already did this side. You did the left side over here, and you're going to be working on the right side. So this side, you have your study guide, and you have your quizzes assignment on the Google Classroom. So work on those 3 things. Also, make sure that you have your notes 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 4.1, 4.2 in your foldable, ready for me to check. That half sheet that you got when you came into class, make sure you bring that back so I can grade it. Okay. Please be on your best behavior. I will get a report from your sub, and any names that show up on my list, I'm not here to check any of you guys, so I'm just gonna email parents as soon as I get back for any names that show up on my list. So please don't have a name show up on my list. If you're finished with everything, read a book, do homework for the class, um, be the good students I know you guys are. See you Monday. Test on Monday. Unit test Monday.